Hello, gorgeous souls, and welcome back to another one of my Spiritual Queens Badass podcast episodes. Today, we have the wonderful Kathrin Zenkina with us. So, Katherine, if you don't know, is a world-renowned master manifestation and mindset coach whose mission is to raise the vibration of the collective by modernizing ancient wisdom and simplifying universal principles to guide others toward reaching their highest potential. She is a #1 Amazon best-selling author, host of the top 10 podcast, the Manifestation Babe podcast, powerhouse expert in the art of manifestation, and founder of the globally recognized personal development brand, Manifestation Babe. Welcome to the show, Katherine. How are you doing?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. I'm so excited for today's conversation.
Oh, likewise. We have been so excited to get you on the podcast for absolutely ages. As you know, we are obsessed with manifestation here. So, of course, we have to have the Manifestation Babe come on and share her amazing wisdom with us.
Oh, I live and breathe manifestation. I can talk about it forever. Your people are my people. So this is just perfectly aligned.
Absolutely. But Katherine, before we get into all of your goodness, one question I love to ask everybody who comes on is, when did you spiritually awaken? What's your story?
Oh my gosh. Okay. When reflecting back on this, I get asked this a lot. And, the more that I reflect on it, the more I'm reminded of different moments in my life that kind of bridged me to like the big awakening. And for me, I think it's just, I've always had this feeling like there was something bigger out there at play. I didn't grow up religious. I would occasionally go to church, Russian Orthodox church. It's beautiful churches because of my Russian background, but there was no like, I was never taught how to pray. There was no like, we have to go to church every Sunday, none of that. My parents weren't very religious, and it was actually in back in the Soviet Union, which fell right before my birth. It was actually illegal to be religious, so it was very hush hush, not so important. But for whatever reason, I always like believed that there was, there's more to life than what meets the eye. I was always secretly into like astrology and psychics and things like that, that I saw my mom would be into. Like she would get psychic readings all the time. And I never doubted it. I would always believe in it like automatically. I did have one profound experience when I visited Russia when I was 16 years old. I went back to meet, because I'm half Russian, half Ukrainian. I went to go meet my Russian side of the family. And I don't know who came up with this idea, but we went on some outing where we went to this like spiritual center in the middle of nowhere. I can't even explain what it is. There was just like this tiny little church. The church was probably the size of like a bathroom. Like it was tiny and there was candle. I mean, it was beautiful. I can't even describe it. And then there's like another like hut next to it that had this essentially like a bathhouse, but really what it was is it was holy water, and it was freezing cold holy water, and you like go into it and you dip yourself 3 times. I didn't know what I was doing. We were just like told what to do, and I was like, okay. And so I'll never forget, I went into this like hole of water inside this outhouse essentially, and on my third dip in this holy water, I felt like this apparition just kind of come in front of me. And it was almost like I met God. And I just had this profound feeling of love, profound feeling of oneness, profound feeling of, oh my God, I think I just met God. Like, I don't know what that was, but I never really thought anything of it until, so it wasn't like I all of a sudden became religious or spiritual or anything like that. It was just like, wow, that was a very profound moment for me. But it wasn't until I went to a Tony Robbins event where my actual spiritual awakening happened, where it was really my soul, my higher self, my intuition that kept asking me this question. Because at this point in my life, I was so off center, so off kilter, so not doing what I'm meant to be doing. I was on the path to medicine, going to medical school. I was in a relationship that I really didn't want to be in. It was just more so out of comfort. It was a relationship that, we were together for 6 years. I think we're going to get married. I think this is just like what it's going to be. And I was living in a place that I didn't want to live in. I really missed my roots in Los Angeles. I grew up in Los Angeles. I missed the sunshine. I missed the energy of the city. So it was just like life was clearly like, no, you're not on the right path, Katherine. And I went to a Tony Robbins event because my mentor at the time encouraged me to go. I did everything in my power to go. I spent like the week sleeping on my grandma's couch, making sure I go to this event, driving to downtown LA at like 7 in the morning to make it by 8. And then we'd be there till midnight. We walked on fire, like all this crazy stuff. And I think it was on the second night of the event where I heard this voice kept asking me the same question over and over and over again. And it was, Katherine, who are you living for? And at first I'm like, that's a great question. So I wrote it down in my journal. I'm like, Katherine, who are you living for? Question mark. Never thought anything of it. Just like, yeah, I feel like I need to answer that question. It's a great question. And it wasn't until the next day and progressively every hour I kept hearing it and I kept hearing it. It was like, Katherine, who the F are you living for? And I'll never forget, I wrote down, I'm living for everyone but myself. And I realized I don't want to go to medical school. That is my parents' dream for me. It has nothing to do with my dream. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. I think that it's not going anywhere. I'm not like madly in love. This is not my definition of a soulmate relationship. I feel like there's something else out there for me, and I really want to move back to LA. And so I went home and I made all of these decisions right then and there. Before I flew back home, I literally broke up with my boyfriend. I told my parents I'm not going to medical school and that I'm moving to Los Angeles. And actually, this is before I like did those things. This is when I made the decision, and I'll never forget. I was at my grandma's house. My best friend was picking me up, and I just looked up at the ceiling and I'm like, God, universe, whoever is out there, whoever you are, am I crazy? Like, can you just give me a sign that tells me I'm not crazy? Because I feel effing insane right now. And if I'm not crazy, if I'm on the right path, can you send me a sign? And my whole life, my best friend would always, whenever we'd see 11:11 on the clock, she would just go, 11:11, make a wish. But I never understood like any sort of spiritual significance behind that. For me, it was just a time. And it was like, oh, all the ones match up. That's fun. And I was like, screw it. 11:11 is what I'm going to choose. And I went to go get a drink of water before she picked me up from my grandma's apartment. And I looked at the microwave, which did not have the right time whatsoever. It was like a clock that was off, and it flashed 11:11. And from that point forward, I never stopped seeing 11:11. It went like, it skyrocketed from there. It was like I had so many signs of confirmation of like, yes, Katherine, you're on the right path. I know you feel insane. I know you feel crazy. And it was at this moment. And actually, I missed a part of my story, which is when I actually discovered manifestation, was also when I was 16 years old. But I kind of like dabbled in it. It was just this fascinating thing that I did on the side, just read about. But it really accelerated my journey from this point where I dove deep into astrology, deep into manifestation, deep into personal development, deep into numerology, like all of the things. I just went off the deep end. I thought it was so healing and so helpful and so guiding, and just made me feel so comfortable and gave me a sense of certainty at a time when I felt the least certain in my life. And ever since then, I never left that rabbit hole. I've only gotten deeper and deeper and deeper. And here I am teaching about the universal laws and manifestation and all the things that I've learned since then.
And what an incredible journey. I mean, it's just amazing to hear all the twists and turns and all the different journeys and things and paths you went along. But when you obviously made those really big decisions, because obviously like leaving your partner, moving, uprooting everything, leaving medical school, for a lot of people, that would be like, oh my freaking God, what have I done? This is huge
Yes.
life changes. So how did you keep that faith that it was all going to work out? Was it intuition, or was there something guiding you, do you think, to be firm in those choices?
Yeah, I really think my education in the concepts of manifestation helped me, obviously, because it's all about your belief. Like, if you believe it's going to work out, it's going to work out. If you don't believe it's going to work out, it's not going to work out. So I really dove into learning from very successful people who have taken similar risks, much bigger risks than that, like all kinds of people. I kept reading their stories, especially those who obviously believe in the power of manifestation. And I really leaned on their wisdom and like, listen, Katherine, it worked out for this person. It worked out for that person. It worked out for that person. And I've always been a person who has been really aware of patterns in the world. Like for whatever reason, I'm like a pattern obsessed person. And so I use that nowadays in my teachings where over the decade of being in the realm of manifestation, I start to notice, I'm like, oh my gosh, this pattern keeps coming up with my students. What is that? Is that tied to universal law? Is that tied to a principle somewhere, that I can, basically like figure out and then teach in some way, shape, or form, or apply in my own life and just see how it works. Like I've always been fascinated with that. And I think that studying enough people and gathering enough of those expanders for me and enough proof that I'm not the only crazy one out there. And, I think the best people are the crazy people. So I mean that in the best way possible. So listen, it worked out for them. It's going to work out for me too. And I think that just being an experimenter has really helped me too. Like part of my story is that I set out on this adventure that I call my 1 year experiment where I just said, screw it. Like, what is the worst thing that's going to happen? I was 23 years old at the time, and I came up with this idea of an experiment when I was living on my grandma's couch because I did end up moving to Los Angeles. I had like no money. I closed one business to start another. I really wanted to dive deep into this realm of personal development and bring these teachings to people and help them make decisions that are in alignment with the life that they desire. And so that's where Manifestation Babe was kind of born. And from that place, I was like, I'm really scared to do this. I'm terrified. I am facing so many fears. I hate public speaking. I hate being on video. I hate my voice. I don't know what to do. I'm a terrible writer. Like I don't have any of these skill sets that I, perceive myself to need in order to build this business. But instead I was like, you know what? How does manifestation work? You need to have an intention and you need to become the version of yourself who already has her dream life. What would that version of me who's already successful, what would she do? How would she believe? How would she think? How would she act? And I just told myself, you know what? I'm going to give myself a container. I'm going to give myself a time frame. I'm going to give myself permission to go all in, just balls deep on this adventure. And if I fail at the end of it, if I fall flat on my face, if I get let down, if the universe puts a big middle finger at me and just says, no, Katherine, this is not how it works, then you know what? I gave it my best. I gave it my best shot. And now I know it doesn't work. And I can just like, what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to be like living on my grandma's couch again. That's where I already am anyway. I'm already at the worst case scenario. So it can't get worse, in my opinion. It can only get better. And what if it does succeed? And what if my life changes? And what if I get everything that I want? Then guess what? I can just keep going with this experiment for the rest of my life. And that's essentially what happened, is just giving myself permission to go all in, give myself a container. And this is something that I suggest to people too, when they're first learning about this stuff, like just try it for 24 hours. What is the worst thing that's going to happen in 24 hours of you fully believing in yourself and fully believing in these universal laws and the law of attraction and manifestation, and then extend it to like, what about a week? What about 2 weeks, and from there. And soon enough, you'll find like, this is actually how the world works. This is actually how the universal laws come into play. This is proven in quantum physics. Like this is just how it's supposed to go. And you have been manifesting your whole life. It's just that maybe you have been manifesting the things that you don't want more than you've been manifesting the things that you do want. So all you're doing now is you're creating a shift into the direction of, what is it that I do want?
Yes, love that. What is it that I do want? Love that. So powerful. So, Katherine, you've spoken about the energetic laws, and I definitely want to quiz you on that in a little bit. But as you are Manifestation Babe, I love to ask manifestation experts when they come on, because obviously I've got my own definition. Everybody has a different way of explaining it, and it's going to resonate with different people as well, which is great. So, how would you define the law of attraction? What does it mean to you to manifest?
Yeah, what does it mean to manifest, and how I define the law of attraction? That's such a good question. For me, I think that manifestation is really about the art of creating your life in an intentional way. And the thing is that manifestation is occurring no matter what, 24/7 from the moment you're born, probably before you're born, because your soul chooses certain aspects of how you want to incarnate and things like that. So it's something that you cannot turn off. And there's all kinds of laws at play, not just the laws of manifestation. There's all kinds kinds of laws of physics, of mathematics, of science, of electricity, right? There's the law of gravity. There's laws that make it so that when you turn on the light switch, the light comes on. There's all of these laws in play. And so, manifestation in the context of how we're talking about it as manifestation teachers is really understanding that you are a creator no matter what. No matter what, you are a creator. So it's about being intentional with what you create. And everything manifestation is essentially like taking the imagination and taking what was once imagined and turning it into actualized reality. And actualized reality just means something you can smell, something you can taste, something you can touch, something that's like real in front of your eyes in the physical 3D world. And if you think about it, everything that we see in life, like I'm looking at my car right now that's parked in front of my house, like that was once a design in someone's mind. I'm looking at you through my computer right now, and that was once something that was just an idea for, Steve Jobs to create the MacBook. This house was once an idea inside the architect's mind, inside whoever builds houses. Everything was once an idea that became actualized into 3D reality through, intention, through taking action, through not giving up, through bringing all of the intangible into tangible. And the law of attraction is just one of the universal laws. And essentially, it's the universal law that says like attracts like. And so like frequencies attract like frequencies. And people always ask, well, Katherine, how do I know what frequency I'm vibrating at? I always tell them it's your thoughts, it's your beliefs, it's your feelings. And ultimately, I like to do belief work because I think that beliefs create our thoughts and feelings anyway. It tells us where our dominant vibration is in what we believe. So whatever we believe to be true about ourselves, about the world, about life, about how things are supposed to go is the building block that then this universal law, and there's other laws, of course, will use to then filter and design and organize and shift and reflect your reality because it's simply just responding to you. And I think that that's something that is key here to understand is that, you're not just at the cause of life, you are causing life. So life is reflecting your beliefs to you. And whatever you have mentally going on, emotionally going on, spiritually going on is what's being reflected in your reality, similar to like a mirror. And a lot of people get frustrated because they're like, well, I have these beliefs, Katherine, because this is how life has shown up for me up until this point. But if you think about it, when I walk up to a mirror and I look in the mirror and I don't like my outfit, or I have an eye booger in my eye, or my hair is all frazzled or something like that, it's not up to me and the reflection to change. It's up to me who's the source of the reflection to change. So it would be akin to me standing in front of the mirror and just being, oh, I hate the way I look, and then waiting for my reflected version of myself to then go and change her outfit or fix her hair or pull the eye booger out of her eye. No, that's crazy to think that way. It is me who has to change that. And when I come back to the mirror, after I've shifted whatever I needed to shift, and I look in the mirror and I see a different reflection, like that's how literally manifestation is working.
I love that description as well. It's just so great when you can break it down in that easy way of like, you are in control of the mirror. You are the one who can change the outfit, change the energy, change everything. So I love that. So we've covered the law of attraction. And I get asked a lot of the time, Katherine, about the universal laws. Now, it's not my biggest area of expertise. That's why I've got you on. So I would love to know, what are the universal laws and how do they tie into the law of attraction? Because I feel like
Yeah.
so many people pigeonhole the law of attraction and it's like the be all and end all. But, like the law of polarity, all the different laws are all at play at once. So can you explain to everyone why it's not
Yeah.
just the law of attraction?
Yes, of course. They're all very similar, especially what we're talking about here is the laws of manifestation. So, like I said, there's so many laws in the universe, but when it comes to manifestation, you can break it down to, I don't know, people teach between 7 to 12 typically. I'll teach like 18 in my courses. And honestly, sometimes I forget and I have to remind myself, I'm like, hey, what is this law again? Because sometimes I'll just like change the name in my head and then I'm like, wait, how is it called typically? So it's very vast. Like when people ask me, Katherine, how do we know how many laws there are? I'm like, there's probably infinite. But
Mm,
like I said before, I like to study patterns. So when it comes to patterns, I like to just look at the most important ones and which one have I used in the manifestation process. And honestly, they all work together and they're just nuanced versions of themselves. So obviously there's a law of attraction, but what builds upon the law of attraction is the law of vibration. So the law of vibration just states that everything in this universe is in motion and it's vibrating at a certain frequency. Well, you can't have the law of attraction without the law of vibration, because the law of attraction is saying that like frequencies attract like frequencies. So it's utilizing the law of vibration to create that. There's also something similar, which is the law of correspondence. And the law of correspondence is essentially, if you've ever heard, um, it's in the book The Kabbalion. Hermes Trismegistus says, as within, so without, as above, so below. And so basically, it's saying that the physical 3D world that we see is just a reflection of another realm. And that realm can be the mental realm, that realm can be the emotional realm, it can be the spiritual realm. So it's being reflected from some other place, as within, so without. Whatever we see, like I have a friend, her name is Aline Info. She's also a manifestation teacher. She's a psychic medium as well. She takes this law so seriously. I've never met anyone in my life who lives true by this law than her, where anything she sees in her external reality, where she gets triggered or her boyfriend pissed her off that day, or she's being mistreated by someone, she doesn't look at it as like, oh, this person's mistreating me, what's wrong with them? Instead, she likes to flip it and be like, wait a second, is there any way where I'm mistreating myself? And that's
mhm,
just being reflected in this person and how they're treating me. If I feel undervalued in my work, I feel like people aren't taking my work seriously. I feel like very underpaid. People are asking for discounts left and right and just don't want to pay what I believe my work is worth. It's like, do you really value your work yourself, right? Because
mm,
the world in all these relationships and all these people and all these circumstances are just reflecting that. Very similarly, we have the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect just says that every cause has an effect, every effect has a cause. And it's also seen as the law of karma. And it's essentially the universal boomerang. It's like the energy that you send out into the world, you're going to receive. So if wish ill upon other people and, hope that something bad happens to them, or you experience envy or jealousy or anything like that and just go, screw her. Like, why does she get to have that and I don't? Like, that's the energetic boomerang that we send out into the universe that then comes back to us in some way, shape, or form. I see this at play, and it drives me insane. Sometimes I'll have like people, I always remind people, like, listen, if you're a business owner and you're going out there and you are being a complete asshole in customer service of another company, what kind of customers do you think that you're going to attract back into your business? If you are being a terrible student or just, whatever, like, what do you think? If you, especially if you have students of your own, what kind of students do you think you're going to attract back into your programs? So, for whatever reason, a lot of people forget about the law of cause and effect. There's also, like you mentioned, the law of polarity. And I love the law of polarity because I think it's a law of focus for me, where I understand through the law of polarity that we have all kinds of opposites. This is where duality comes in. So we have sadness and then we have happiness. We have hot, we have cold, we have up, we have down, we have feminine, we have masculine. We have all these opposites that exist on this wide spectrum and wide range. And I like to look at it as the law of contrast. And the law of contrast, what it tells me essentially is, if I'm ever experiencing, this is how I use, because I like to make it practical, right? It's one thing to be very super esoteric and like, oh yeah, I get this universal law, but like, how does it apply to my day-to-day life? So for me, when I'm experiencing something that is a manifestation that isn't exactly what it is that I want, or there's some circumstance or some event that's happening in my life where I'm like, God, I love like 80% of it, but this 20% I don't like it. Well, through the law of polarity, I can look at it as, oh, I have received what I don't want. What I don't want exists so that I can get clearer on what I do want.
Mm.
If what I don't want exists, automatically what I do want exists too. So I like to look at it as like, okay, what can I refine? What can I shift? What can I hyper focus on to get the outcome that I do want? Whenever I'm having I like to look at it also as if I'm ever having a problem in my life, I know through the law of polarity that if a problem exists, automatically, so does the solution. And it's a matter of me understanding through the law of polarity, there's this problem, but there's also the solution. So, how can I get on the frequency? How can I get into the mind, the consciousness of the version of myself who has already solved this problem? How would she look at this problem? Would she look at it with stress and anxiety and it's the end of the world? Because really, if you've already solved the problem, are you looking at the problem as the end of the world? No, clearly you've solved the problem. Maybe it's the greatest gift of your life, and that's very common through the law of polarity. Like some of our biggest challenges end up becoming our biggest gifts. And so I love to use the law of polarity as just like helping me have perspective and helping me refine my focus on what I do want. And then, I mean, there's so many more laws that we can go down, but you can see how they're similar but nuanced and they interact with each other. Now, the
Mm.
law of attraction, of course, is the most commonly known one. And I apprenticed with a shaman. I have been for the last 3 years. I've learned a lot about spirituality and the universal laws through him. And he always says on repeat, the law of attraction is one of the most important laws of the universe. So of course, there's a lot of focus on it for a great reason, but we can't forget about the other laws because sometimes we go, well, what the heck? Like, why am I struggling with this? Why is this not happening yet? Why is there a delay? Well, let's go into the other laws and just see what's happening here because there's also the law of rhythm. And this one is essentially where, there are seasons in life, there are ups and downs in life, there are ebbs and flows in life. And every single soul is going to go through challenges and obstacles and periods of evolution because we didn't just come here to like mess around. We also came here to grow and to evolve and to and to experience these challenges so that we can get on the other side of them, learn what we needed to learn as a soul, and then move on into the next lifetime and the next lifetime, depending on what you believe in, in terms of reincarnation. I, of course, do believe in reincarnation. So there's so much at play here. And I think that very often people forget, well, first of all, we're never taught this. We don't have awareness of this. But when you learn the universal laws, it's like you have the secret code to life, man. Like you hack the matrix and you can just use it in your favor. You can just use it to your advantage and things just get really fun and exciting once you understand them.
Definitely. And thank you for explaining them because I feel like it's so easy for us to get caught up in the law of attraction. And I think then it opens up the questions of, well, why do bad things happen to people? Why is this
Yeah.
happening? So actually, when we understand the laws, we're then able to say, right, okay, it's just that law happening or just that law happening. So it gives us that broader awareness of, I mean, I doubt we're ever going to know how every single law and every single energy works in the
Yeah.
universe in this lifetime, but it helps us to break it down and understand it more. So I think it's really important that we do look beyond the law of attraction and understand those laws, but also, like you say, bring it back into that main important law of attraction as well. But
Yes.
Katherine, what are some common blocks you see with your students, with your community when it comes to manifesting?
Oh, this is such a good question. I think the first thing that comes up to mind is a lot of people don't even get to step one of the manifestation process because they're so afraid to declare what it is that they want. They feel guilty, they feel selfish, they feel weird. Like, isn't life just supposed to suck and then you die? Isn't life just supposed to be hard? Isn't life unfair? Isn't life blah, 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 whatever societal programming that they've heard up until this point. And the thing is that you need to define what you want in order to manifest what you want. You need to declare it because it is your yours for the taking. And this is what I so love about the word desire anyway. It's broken up. It has a Latin root, desire, which means of the Father, which translates to of God. So whatever it is that you desire for your life is literally because God, source, universe, whatever it is that you believe in, implanted it into your heart so that you would manifest it. It is not random. It's not made up. It's not selfish. It's not self-centered. It's none of that. It's literally because it is part of your destiny. It is part of your purpose. It's part of why you came here, is to have these experiences. And through the law of oneness, which I forgot to talk about, it essentially says that we are all one. We're all one with one another. We're all one with source. We are all part of the same energy. And so when we deny ourselves our desires, it's essentially like denying God, source, universe, its desires as well. And it could very much be part of that consciousness to want to experience a certain, version of life through you, Emma, or me, Katherine, or, someone else, Sally, or, insert whoever here. There's all these versions of life that the divine wants to experience. And if we're saying no, 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 then we are not just denying ourselves, we're also denying that divinity. Another thing that's really come from, just me being aware of patterns and like studying, like where do these stucknesses and blockages come from? Like, what are they truly? What are these fears? Like, can they be labeled as something? Can they be frameworked? Can I just define them a little bit better? And what I've discovered over the last few years is like three things. It's an awareness of feared losses, hidden benefits, and secret desires. So let me just explain those. So for example, sometimes we struggle, we find ourselves stuck where we are is because there's some sort of hidden unconscious benefit, also known as secondary gain, behind why we are where we are. So for example, you may want to manifest more money and experience millions of dollars, but you fear taking on responsibilities. You may fear that life is going to become busier, or it's going to become less relaxed or more chaotic. And you find that the life that you've created is very familiar to you now. You have a pretty good handle on it. You don't know what it's going to look like when you have all of a sudden millions of dollars in the bank. And so unconsciously, you feel safer where you currently are. And when the subconscious mind experiences a threat of any sort, which in this case, your manifestation is now a threat, it's going to do everything in its power to sabotage it, to repel it, to make sure it doesn't come anywhere near you. So it's so important to understand, like, wait a second, there is this hidden benefit here, but how can I reframe it? How can I actually show myself that I'm going to get way more benefits on the other side? And actually how it is right now, I don't like, and it's actually not serving me. And this correlates, of course, directly with feared losses. So a lot of people think that, like, what if I make more money than my parents? What if they disown me? Or what if I out earn my friends and I'm going to lose my friends? Or I'm going to lose this relationship? Or I'm going to lose this? And this is why I call it feared loss, is because you think that by having this manifestation, again, this is happening unconsciously. So a lot of people go, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, if you're really honest with yourself and you see, like, what could be the worst thing that happens if I live my dream life, and see what comes through, you'll understand where else are you perceiving some sort of perceived threat that is causing you to repel the manifestation instead of pursuing it. Because unconsciously, any sort of threat, like I said, you're driven, you are wired on a nervous system level to avoid pain at all costs and pursue pleasure. So on some level, there's pain associated with the manifestation. So it's all about just reworking that through, rewiring that, reframing it, just showing yourself that actually life is better. Life is amazing no matter what. Let's be real about that, because there's also, like, attachment that people think that, having their manifestations or having more money or having the dream relationship is going to save them in some way, shape, or form. And it's also recognizing like life is amazing no matter what, and everything is a bonus. So when you treat your manifestations like a bonus and you detach from that needy energy, that very desperate energy, that's going to be a game changer in itself too. And then secret desires is really interesting. And this is one that I've learned many times over the hard way. And when I describe this, when I explain it, I like to start with the story of how I learned about secret desires. So when I started my business, Manifestation Babe, I was also working a 9 to 5 job at a home health agency. And, 6 months into building the business and working full time and spending all my weekends and evenings just like going and going and going, I reached burnout. I was exhausted. I was desperate for rest and a vacation. And I kept toying with the idea of what if I just took like a week off? What if I just took a week off, took a vacation, told my job, I'm not coming in, and just didn't work on my business for a week and just really rested. And of course, I had fears around that. I had fears that, oh no, I can't do that because I'll make less money. Something bad's going to happen. I'm going to get fired. My business isn't going to grow. And so I kept ignoring that until I got so sick that I was bedridden for like 10 days. And when I looked back on it, after the experience, because of course I was barely conscious during the sickness, it was such a terrible illness. Oh my God. When I looked back on it, I went, oh my God. Oh my God, I manifested the vacation that I've been so desperately, secretly desiring, but I kept denying myself. And the universe is using that as a frequency. It's using that as an intention. And it's essentially forcing you to manifest it, but typically it's not going to be in the way that you expect it. So another thing is like, let's say that you are someone who dreams about opening a lash business, you're a lash artist. You really want to go off on your own. You've dreamt of having your studio and it's been like this for years and you just keep denying it and keep denying it and keep denying it, but you keep dreaming about it and dreaming about it and dreaming about it. Well, don't be surprised and wonder why you got fired from your job, or there was some sort of drama that occurred in your, job, or some sort of toxic situation that came about that forced you out of that job, that then forced you to essentially start your business. So that is what I mean by secret desires. So sometimes we are not honoring our actual desires, and it's causing this chaos and it's causing this confusion and it's causing this just like, what is going on here? So I like to look at it as those three things: feared benefit, or hidden benefits, feared losses, secret desires. And then the last one, honestly, is like not incorporating nervous system regulation work. I think that if we just understood that if we knew how to handle challenges in a more regulated state, and that when we manifest the unexpected bills, or there's a challenge in our businesses, or there's drama in our family, or a toxic situation, and we respond to it from a place of faith and certainty and trust and of what we want and the version of ourselves that is, already has everything that she wants, and we respond to it from our higher selves, that we're going to manifest our dream life through it, and in spite of it, instead of reacting to everything from panic and from fear and just this dysregulated state. So I really like to encourage people to do the things that they need to do to have a more regulated nervous system. So for me, this really comes down to breath work. This comes down to grounding. This comes down to prayer. This comes down to meditation. This comes down to like vagus nerve toning work. So like things that help you tone your vagus nerves are like massages and cold exposure and exercise and movement and somatic exercises and practices and yoga and getting enough sleep. Like there's so many things that when we develop resilience within our nervous system, we're able to handle life from that higher self instead of from our lower self that then is manifesting more chaos and getting triggered by everything. And instead, it's about developing your ability to stay beyond the triggers. Because when you come from a place, when you finally approach life from a place that just doesn't get triggered anymore, it's like all the ups and downs in the manifestation journey cannot affect you. When they don't affect you, you then learn and solidify, and this is so key, that it's not over until it's over. And I think that way too many people give up way too quickly and they think, oh no, I tried that manifestation thing. I tried to manifest that thing. It didn't work. And I'm like, ma'am, are you dead? No, then it's not over. Like life isn't over. The universe is not done with you. You're not done with yourself. Your higher self, your soul is still here assisting you and helping you. Like it's not over until it's over. So stop getting stuck in that place of like, it's the end of the world. That's it. It doesn't work. It fucking works. And it's not over until it's over.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's so important. And I feel like over the years, I've really learned that as well. That, when I was manifesting in my early days before I learned what the inner work was or limiting beliefs and blocks, I was just boldly manifesting and then feeling this deep unfulfillment within myself. But then, like you say, that nervous system dysregulation just created more chaos and, more reasons to be dysregulated. And also it then meant that when I was manifesting the things that I wanted, it didn't feel the most calming and grounding. And, I really thought like, oh, I thought like I'd feel this way when I have that desire. I feel like I would feel that emotion when I had that desire and I wouldn't.
Yeah.
But actually doing the inner work and really looking at those limiting beliefs, fears, blocks, trauma, I feel now that my manifestations are like on a whole new level, Katherine. Like it's easier, it flows more, that regulation's there, that trust is there, that belief is there. And I just feel like it is the optimum place to be, like you say, from that regulated place, because you just experience so much more flow, so much more alignment in there where you are aligning with that version of yourself who has that desire, because they're not going to feel stressed. They're not going to feel chaotic. They're going to
Yes.
be chilled as hell, enjoying their desires. So yeah, I feel like that's been probably one of the biggest lessons for me, is really learning to regulate and heal those parts that cause that dysregulation as well.
Yeah, it's key. And I feel like people don't do it enough. And you bring up such a good point. It's like, why is life still chaotic, even though on the outside it appears that I have what I want? Like, you can manifest through any sort of state. You can manifest through a stress state. You can manifest through a panic state, a chaotic state. Like, you can force your manifestations to come through. But that's why I really encourage people to ask themselves not only what do they want, but how do they want it to feel? And then cultivating that feeling. And very often you'll find that people say, well, I want it to feel good and calm and grounding. Well, those are the key words that we associate with a regulated nervous system. So let's start there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So your work also focuses on quantum physics and the quantum field as well, which I love. So again, I want you to give us the 101 on this, because a lot of people listening may be like, I've heard of quantum physics, I've heard of the quantum realm, quantum leaping, but like, what does this mean, Katherine? And how can we, work with this to manifest our desires?
Oh my gosh. This is such a deep topic and it can take off in 17,000 directions. But I wanted to share something interesting that I learned. Like, I finally solidified the way to explain this and it just blew my mind. And essentially, I learned that according to not just quantum physics, but normal physics, traditional physics, that anything that creates an electrical current also produces a magnetic field. Now, what does that mean? Well, everything, think about the human body. We produce electricity, and we can measure this. So we produce electricity in our hearts. You can measure this with an EKG. We produce electricity with our brains. That's an EEG. Our nervous system is a bunch of electrical currents just being sent information in and out constantly. And so therefore, we produce a magnetic field. And when I tuned into that, because I remember in my science classes, because I was on the path to medicine, we always, applied everything to random things that just was like, it just didn't make sense, like batteries and things that I didn't care about. But when I applied this to the human body, I was like, oh my God, we are literal walking, breathing, talking magnets. Like, that is so freaking cool. And there's so many things in our world, like nature, the earth, the universe, that also is essentially this, produces its own fields. And then there's also this big field, which is the quantum field. When people ask, what is a quantum field? It's essentially this energetic matrix that creates the ethers in which the spiritual realm bridges with the physical realm or the mental realm, because the universe is mental, and so it just bridges the two together. And this is the field in which we send out our intentions out, like the boomerang that I talked about, and through our own field, that we create and generate as walking, breathing, talking magnets, we receive as reflections, as responses, as as a magnet, whatever it is that we send out. And so, I mean, there's so many directions we can go with quantum physics. And of course, I'm not like quantum physicist and I know everything, but it's just a fascinating way to like look at the scientific explanation behind all of these esoteric things that spiritual teachers talk about when they say like you're a magnet. Well, what the frick does that mean? Like you can find it explained in quantum physics when I talked about the law of vibration, how everything is vibrating. If you look at anything under a microscope that's strong enough, you see a bunch of vibrating atoms, and atoms are made up of smaller subatomic particles. And what's crazy is if you blow up an atom and you make it the size of a football field, essentially the center of the atom is like the size of a pea in the middle of the field. And the electrons that orbit around the atom are all the way in the parking lots. So there's all of this space within atoms. So atoms are 99.99999% space. And the thing is that, is it really space? No, because God, source, universe, divinity, even nature wouldn't go, and now I shall create space for no reason. Like there's no such thing as empty space. It's actually just energy. And so everything is made up of energy, and everything is vibrating at a particular frequency, and everything is interacting within different frequencies. And then through the universal laws, which are also part of quantum physics, just explain more from a spiritual esoteric perspective, all interfere and what make the quantum field possible. So the universal laws essentially explain how the quantum field works. And through learning the universal laws, we then understand, okay, if I want to create X outcome, then I need to use these universal laws to make that happen. Does that kind of help explain, make
Yes,
sense of things?
perfect.
Perfect.
Perfectly, thank you. So let's talk about your manifestation practice, because I'm sure everybody listening is like, this sounds great, Kathrin, but I want to know what your go-to manifestation rituals or practices are. So what are your favorites to do?
Yes. Okay. Visualization is my number one for sure. I can't stress this enough. This is something I do. Like, it takes 2 seconds. Like, for me, before when I first started my manifestation practice, for anyone starting anything, the first time you learn to drive, it's like very robotic. Like, okay, I gotta fix the mirrors, I gotta put my hands here and put my feet here, and this pedal does this and this pedal does that. So at first it's like, yes, I would have this like specific visualization time with specific music and this and that, and I would take myself through a journey. And now how it shows up for me is I just have flashes of images. So it's like throughout the day, I'm just like, oh, within, even before we started this podcast, had a visualization practice. Took me 2 seconds. I always set an intention and I just see the outcome. And I like to see, like I saw you and I looking at each other, we're smiling and we're giggling and we're laughing. And I visualize how I wanted it to feel. I wanted it to feel flowy, conversational, happy, just, very light, like a great conversation between friends. And I really wanted it to be flowy and educational, and this is how I want it to be received. And so I just create this flash of an image of like, okay, this is how I know that this is the outcome, and the outcome has happened. So how do I want it to feel? What do I see? Okay, boom, boom, boom. And I just send that out into the stratosphere. Before I go to bed, the last 5 minutes is when your subconscious mind is most open. and most active. It's active all the time, but like that's when your conscious mind starts to kind of fall asleep. You start to drift off. You don't have all these distractions. And so that's truly my visualization time, where I like to go more in depth, where I'm like, okay, what am I creating? How do I want my business to look like? How much money do I want? How do I want my relationship to look like? How do I want, me to show up as a mother? What do I want to create? What do I want to look like? All this stuff. I like to go a little bit more in depth. And why this is so key and why this is so powerful is because the mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So they have shown this over and over and over again in many studies, in many scientific articles, where they have studied especially athletes. It's very easy to prove this on athletes, where they would hook up athletes to a brain machine, a brain scan of some sort, and they would ask them to just visualize themselves playing the game or skiing or whatever, experiment we're talking about here. And what they see constantly, consistently, is that the same parts of the brain are lit up in these athletes as if they were actually kicking the ball, actually skiing, actually running. It's the exact same parts of the brain, but they're just visualizing it. So it really, like, your brain is it so believes that what you're visualizing is actually happening. And if it's actually happening, then reality must match your beliefs. So if you see it as real and your beliefs are matching it, then reality has to take place and align and correspond with what's happening internally. Law of correspondence, here we come back to it. As within, so without. So this is a key one for me. I also really love meditation. This is just a time, everyone stresses about meditation. How do you meditate? Oh my God, I can't be that quiet and still and whatever. Trust me, guys, I also can't be that still. Like, you should see me when I'm trying to be still for longer than 10 minutes. I just start fidgeting like crazy. And I never noticed this about myself until very recently, when I had to be still for something for like an hour the other week as I was listening to someone, and I'm just like fidgeting, going crazy. So for me, it's just about like allowing myself to receive. So meditation isn't so much like, Katherine, sit here, breathe a certain way, don't move, don't do this. It's like talking to God. What do I need to know? What are some visuals that you can send me? What are some ideas that you can send me? Is there anything I need to reflect on here? It's just like my moment with myself, to listen to my heart, to listen to my soul, just to see what comes up. I also really love, similarly, breath work, like specific breath work, like intentional breathing practices that you do in a rhythmical fashion for like half an hour to an hour, just depending on the style and who you do it with. And this is key for, especially if you have a busy mind and you struggle with, excuse me, with meditation. Breath work is really powerful in that it gives your mind like something to do, and then it creates, while your conscious mind is busy here, your subconscious mind is doing its thing, breathing. And then the super conscious is kind of like that third mind, divine mind, comes in and just starts channeling ideas and visuals. And, people say that breath work is very similar to like plant medicine ceremonies, because it truly is. You have some crazy visuals. And then this is also a really powerful way to release things. So any things that come up during breath work, emotions and things like that, like they were stucknesses within your mind, within your body somewhere. So any sort of convulsions that you have, like crazy things have happened in breath work for many people. And this is all stuff that just needs to go. It's like your body, your mind, your spirit is taking out the trash now. And when you've taken the trash out, you're just a much cleaner, clearer vessel to receive more of what you do want. And then I don't know if you've heard of the technique. I learned this from TikTok and it's been quite effective for me. It's called ask formations. Have you heard of ask formations?
I've heard of them through you, and I
Yeah.
absolutely love this.
It's so crazy because I don't typically like go to TikTok for manifestation information, not because it's like bad or anything like that, but it's just very like you can only say so much in a 2-minute video. You know what I mean? It's more like if I'm trying to go deeper on something, podcasts are genius for that, right? Like this platform is built for going deep into something. But I was hearing this tip and I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. It sounds good. So basically, ask affirmations is taking your affirmation and turning it into a question. And it starts as a rhetorical question at first. And then eventually you find that your subconscious mind just naturally starts to answer these questions. So instead of saying affirmations like, I'm a genius, you would say, how am I such a genius? Or instead of saying, like, I'm so good at marketing and sales, instead you would say, like, God, why am I so damn good at marketing and sales? Or like, I'm a powerful manifester. Instead, you're like, how am I such a powerful manifester? And it's so weird because even in just asking the question without even answering it or having an answer, I just feel like my focus immediately goes on it being already true. And so, where's the evidence? And I
Mm.
can already feel the evidence as I ask the question. And then I found over time, I've been using them for maybe like 3 to 4 weeks now, or however long it's been. And it's amazing because now I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a genius because of this. Like I'm so lovable because of this. I just have so many reasons, so much evidence, and so much proof because the subconscious mind loves to answer questions and it's an evidence seeking machine. So if you give it a good question, it's going to come up with a really good answer. So turning your affirmations, which are phenomenal statements, positive statements to focus on, to bring your attention and awareness to. But when you turn it into a question, all of a sudden your subconscious mind is challenged in giving really damn good answers to the questions. And that's been a really fun, easy, like throughout the day, you could just do this manifestation hack. It doesn't take any more time than saying your affirmations. And I just like anything I want to manifest, I just find the question to ask myself in terms of like, what's the affirmation I would tell myself? Okay, what's the ask affirmation I would ask myself? And then just repeating it over and over and over again. Oh my God, you guys, like you have to try it. It's so much fun.
It is really so much fun. And I think it makes it more believable for people because I think affirmations can feel quite daunting sometimes of
Yeah.
some of them will feel, more believable than others. But say if you've got a really big affirmation and you're like, oh my God, I don't believe that at all. The affirmations are great because it gets you to really think. And then your subconscious is like, oh, I am really good with money. Oh, like it's a great way to reframe it. So I love it.
Yes. Yes. It keeps the resistance down. That's for sure.
Mm. Absolutely. So, Katherine, before I let you go, I cannot not ask you about money because you have your amazing course, Sovereign Money. You teach money manifestation a lot of the time. So, for anybody listening who wants to be the queen of their money, what are your top tips for money manifestation?
It's so interesting. Money manifestation is the same thing as like regular manifestation. How you'd manifest one thing, you'd manifest another thing. But I think that the reason why money becomes a whole topic in its own is really about the programming that we have about money. I think that society is not well when it comes to money mindset. I think we have a very sick all these kinds of crazy money beliefs and just these rules and regulations and this and that and this is good and this is bad, and we just have so many meanings and labels. And so my number one tip for anyone who wants to manifest more money is, of course, to go in and heal your money beliefs. So of course, just like anything with manifestation, what you believe to be true about money determines your income cap and will determine your financial thermostat overall. So that's just like in terms of how much money are you resonating with and how much money are you keeping. So some people can be really good at manifesting money, but like it goes in and it leaves, right? It just flows right through the bank account. And so it's important for us to have like a really good relationship with money and really good financial health. So that's where excuse me, the financial thermostat comes in. The thing about money is that money doesn't care about how hard you work. It doesn't care about how much effort you put into something. It doesn't care about how long you spent on this project or how many hours you clocked in at work, even though, yes, we have 3D structures set up for that. Of course, like there are 3D elements to money. But in terms of the spirituality of money, money just cares about your frequency, and your frequency has to do with your beliefs. So if you believe that money is bad, guess what? It's not really going to show up in your life. You're going to reject it. You're going to repel it. You're not going to be a magnet to it. If you believe that money is lacking in your life, then guess what? You're not going to find very much of it. And so for me, it was a matter of regulating my nervous system in terms of money. So feeling really safe and at ease and at peace within my body when I'm handling money. That came number one for me. And then number two is asking myself, like, the version of me who's already a millionaire, the version of me who's already 100 millionaire, whatever that amount of money is, how would she, like, what kind of relationship would she have with money? And understanding that money is just responding to you. And I think that's what it comes down to, being the sovereign queen of money, is understanding, like, you rule the kingdom. Money's responding to you. You're not responding to money. And the more that you react to money, because remember, how money is showing up for you now could just be a compilation and a compounding effect of all of your past money programs and beliefs and things like that. You know, there's a point in which we begin our money manifestation journey. So just recognize, like, yeah, it might be showing up funky right now, but just know that that's just how you have been in relationship with money up until this point. Today's a new day. You're now in a marriage with money. Your money is now your bae, your boyfriend, your husband, whatever, your girlfriend. And so how would you treat money in this like new dream relationship that you're creating? And would you be super like controlling over it? Would you trust it? Would you have faith that there's always more, like there's more than enough to go around? Like how would you respond to money? And then understanding, like, that you are the boss of this relationship and you are the queen, and asking yourself, okay, how do I want it to show up in my life? And just applying the universal laws to this, and just understanding that scarcity isn't real. Abundance is all that there is. I've learned a lot about money through nature. I have been doing these practices from the very beginning when trying to tap into abundance and trying to understand, like, what that looks like. What I like to do is I like to go into nature and try to count every single blade of grass that I can find. And you'll soon find, like, 10 minutes in, it's freaking impossible. There's so many blades of grass. It's not even funny. I try to count every single leaf on every shrub that I'm finding, and I'm finding, like, oh my God, there's just so much abundance out here. And the same energy that nature is made of, money is also energy. You're also energy. There's infinite energy. We're not just manifesting money, we are dealing with energy. And if you feel really triggered around money, just tell yourself, like, change the meaning of it, change your perspective of it. Like, tell yourself it's just energy. Like, I am manifesting more energy into my life, or I am calling in more energy through my business, or I am exchanging energy at the grocery store for these amazing apples and amazing oranges and all this milk that I get to drink this week and all this nourishment that I get to buy. Like, that can really, really help people, especially when they're first diving into the world of money, where there's just so many stories, so many triggers come up. It's about neutralizing as much as possible and then rebuilding this relationship from a place of faith and from a place of trust, from a place of love, from a place of forgiveness, from a place of creating a brand new money story, and knowing that it's a new beginning the moment that you decide to have a new beginning with money. And for anyone who has, like, debt or past resentments, financial resentments and shame and guilt that comes up, I like to remind them that any sort of debt that you have or any sort of past mistakes that you've made financially can become the greatest financial education of your life. And that's how I saw my debt. When I was $25,000 in debt when I started my business, I was like, you know what? This is going to teach me way more about money than just automatically be given all of my success will. Like, just automatically waking up a millionaire, like, probably not going to learn anything. But if I start from the bottom over here, like, my bank account is in the negatives, I'm $25,000 in debt, I'm going to learn a lot more in terms of my financial education, build my financial acumen, and master my money mindset in terms of money so much more effectively, starting from this place. So I was so grateful, and actually, like, thank God I have debt or had debt so that I can learn all of these incredible things. So yeah, that's my spiel on money right there.
I love it. I love it. And I love how you shared about relationship with money as well, because it is a relationship.
It
I love
is.
that you've recently been calling it, is it Sugar Daddy God? What was it?
Yes, sugar daddy God. Yes. I
I
see
love it.
the divine as a relationship. Everything's we're in relationship with ourselves, with
Mm.
divinity, with God, with money, with our kids. I mean, everything. And it's just about asking yourself, you know, how can I show up in this relationship as the best version of me? Like, what?
Mm.
Because I'm only going to receive what I give. And that's, again, bringing in the law of cause and effect, the giving and receiving. What is the boomerang that I'm sending out? And what am I receiving in return?
100%. So, Catherine, my last question to you today then is, what is one piece of life advice that you'd like to leave my lovely listeners with?
You know what? I want to repeat what I shared earlier, which is it ain't over until it's over. The greatest desire to give up is literally 2.5 seconds before your greatest breakthrough. I can't tell you
Mm.
enough how many times I've seen this as a pattern in my life, how often I've seen this as a pattern in every single success story I've ever read. Guys, read any person who you look up to, their story of success, and just notice, become aware of how many failures that they had that led to that success, how many ups and downs they had to go through, and they thought it was over, but it ain't over till it's over. Like, if you're not dead, it's not over. The universe did not forget about you. Your manifestation is still coming. Just refine and fine tune and dive deeper into your beliefs around the inevitability of it happening, because it absolutely will, and your desires are your destiny.
Mm, I love that. Oh my gosh, Catherine, thank you so much. So, where can everybody find you if they want to learn more about your wonderful work?
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. You can hang out with me on Instagram. My handle is at Manifestation Babe. That's my primary social media. I mean, you can probably find Manifestation Babe even on Twitter or whatever you call it nowadays. My husband's favorite app, X or whatever it's called now. But anyway, like, I primarily hang out on Instagram, so definitely find me there. I also have a podcast, the Manifestation Babe podcast, and then any of my courses and offerings and things like that you can find at manifestationbabe.com.
Amazing. And we will put a clickable link to all of Catherine's work in the description below, so you have some nice, easy links for those too. But thank you so, so much, Katherine. It has been such an honor having you on. I've taken away so much from this, so I know that everybody listening will have got so much from this. So just the biggest thank you for coming on and sharing all things Manifestation Babe with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.